Hey, Phantom friends, and welcome back. I am Emily, your honorary little Lottie. So today's video is a very long requested one, and I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get to it, but I finally have it for you guys. Today we are going to be talking about the Phantom Deformities and ranking them. I'm going to do this from, bottom to top. And I have decided to rate them in the following way. All of my scores were based off of quality, creativity, and do they serve the purpose of the story? Like, is the deformity something that would make a person want to hide away from the world and never come up again and, change their entire life? And then, there were a couple situations where I needed tiebreakers, so just within those couple, I factored in novel accuracy just as kind of a tiebreaker. But overall, that is just a personal preference, and I'm trying to stay more objective here. So that was not a factor in the overall scoring. It was literally just used as a tiebreaker for a couple that got the exact same score. Now, first of all, I want to say that in no way, based on these rankings, am I saying that any of these deformities were, bad. Like, if they're down, toward the bottom, it's not necessarily that I, hate the deformity or that I think it's trash or something like that. That's not the case. It's based on those three elements, because I thought that was about the fairest way to do it, so that, personal bias didn't come in too much, you know what I mean? I also recognize that there are a lot more Phantom films and shows and stuff like that than what I have mentioned, but these deformities, these shows and movies are the ones that I'm the most familiar with, so that I felt like these were the ones I could give my most, accurate, informed opinion on. So, let's get started. Now, this first one, coming in at number 13, I really feel like this should not have even been included, in all honesty, because it doesn't exist. But I like any opportunity to hate on this and the fact that this ever happened. So, I think we all know that I'm talking about the Dario Argento Eric. There is no deformity. So, yeah, that one comes in dead last on this particular list, because I will use any excuse to hate on that. The next one coming in at number 12 is the 2004 movie musical of Phantom, based on the Andrew Lloyd Webber stage musical. I know I am not alone in the fact that this deformity was very underwhelming. Most, half of his face was, messed up or whatever, but as the wonderful Phantom of the Opera in 15 Minutes once put it, it looks like a terrible third-degree sunburn. And that's about the extent of it. So yeah, and as far as serving the story, you can't even say that this were real. You really wouldn't even be able to tell that he was deformed from far away. You have to get up close in order to even notice that there's something wrong. And so it does not serve the story. It was very underdone to basically try and get more fangirls on the Phantom's side, and appeal to a different audience who might not appreciate the whole true beauty thing quite as much as others. So that's why that one is so far down the list. Next one on the list at number 11 is the Claude Rains film Phantom Deformity. While I do like this one and everything, it is also one that's just a little bit underwhelming as far as serving the purpose goes. again, it's just not something like if I were to see somebody on the street, you know, with that deformity, I would have been like, oh wow, I wonder what happened. That sucks, you know, type of thing. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, holy shit, you know, like, it doesn't seem like one that's totally like, I need to hide away from the world. But the story, like, on how the Phantom got that deformity, that was actually, I believe, the first time the whole, like, acid on the face had ever been used. And for the time, the prosthetics were very, very good. Like, it's crazy how good the prosthetic work was for the 40s. And so that did actually really impress me about that one. The next one at number 10 is the 2014 independent film A Phantom of the Opera, written and directed by my personal friend Anthony D.P. Mann. It pains me to not have this one higher on the list, but the only reason it's coming in where it is really is because it's also one of those ones where it's like the deformity wasn't that bad, and I would be more like, oh shit, I wonder what happened, rather than, oh my god, what the fuck. However, I will say that it does make sense with this backstory that the Phantom is given in the film. This film takes place after, I believe, the First or Second World War, and the Phantom's facial issues are scarring caused from you know, him actually fighting in that war. So it does serve the story in the sense of the backstory that he was given, but I don't know, if it were me, I wouldn't have hidden away from the world permanently over something like that. But another good thing I'll say about that one is the quality was really impressive for the budget that they had. That scarring looked very legit, and so I'm very, very proud of him for the excellent work that he did. And he still remains one of my favorite Phantoms. Next one on the list, coming in at number 9, is the deformity from Phantom of the Paradise. This one and the Hammer film, when I was doing my initial scoring, came in at exactly the same, even with the tiebreaker. So this was very, very difficult. But in the end, I put Phantom of the Paradise lower because it is not his entire face that's affected, but the job that they did on his makeup, his prosthetics, was really, really cool, really interesting. I really liked it. However, it's something, like, the deformity itself is something that probably could have been covered with an eye patch. So it, you know, and everyday average people have eye patches. So it's, again, it's not one of those I have to hide away from the world things. And that's just talking about the deformity, not the voice problems that he got. The other thing that made me put this lower was the weird kiss gone wrong makeup job on the other side of his face that was not disfigured. That he did to himself. That was his own fault. Like, you know, all he had to do was wipe that makeup off and he would have been a lot better. Next at number 8, of course, is the Hammer film. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this one. I do feel like the quality could have been a little bit better. You know, like, if they can do what they did with Claude Rains in the 40s, I think they were kind of running out of excuses for the 60s, you know, 20 some odd years later. But it definitely did serve the purpose of, this is somebody who legitimately probably would have wanted to just totally, you know, disappear from the world, because it is his entire face, and he has that walking corpse thing going on. Like, his skin's like really gray, except for like the patches of like red kind of, you know, flesh you know, showing through. It is a very gruesome deformity, more so than Phantom of the Paradise, because this is all over his face. Now, you would think that because he has the walking corpse thing going on, that I, as a LaRue fangirl, would be like all over this. But it's like not the type of walking corpse that LaRue was talking about. He looked a little bit more like a zombie, if you ask me. Number 7 is going to be the 1989 film with Robert Englund, Deformity. This one is a weird one for me. As I said in my review of it, it looks like they just saved the prosthetics from when Robert Englund played Freddy Krueger and just stuck some of them on, you know, one side of his face. And so it didn't get a ton for creativity there. Now the story of how he got the deformity is creative, you know. It's kind of weird with the whole selling his soul to the devil thing, but because, you know, being deformed was not part of the deal. But that's not what I'm taking into account here. I'm taking into account the actual, like, deformity itself. And in the way of serving its purpose, yes, I feel like that is something that would make someone want to hide themselves. And the quality, I feel, was actually really good, despite it being very weirdly similar to Freddy Krueger. It was good quality, and I really liked the fact that he did not have a nose, which is one of things that makes it a little bit more gruesome. But the thing that I liked the most about it was that he would sew pieces of skin over it in order to make his mask. I just thought, like, this, it's gruesome, it's, you know, but it just kind of works. And I thought they just did a really good job with it, and it really looked like he had sewn somebody else's skin onto his face, because even when he had like his makeup on and stuff that made him look like normal, you could still tell there wasn't something quite right about it. So props for them there. Coming in at number 6 is the Maximilian Schnell Deformity. I really like this one because it is an all-over deformity. I like those best because I do think that it serves the story more when there's just nothing left that's normal about, you know, the Phantom's face, and that really would make you want to, you know, hide and just, you know, feel like you do not belong in society anymore. So I really like that, and they did get pretty, you know, in depth with the prosthetics. You know, they messed with his cheekbones and, you know, his chin and stuff like that, which was cool, but didn't really work with the whole fact that he got deformed by acid. That's my problem with this one, was it doesn't look like he got burned by acid. It looks like he was born that way or something else. I don't know what else would have caused a deformity like that. So it works very well as a deformity that would make someone want to, you know, hide away from the world, but it doesn't really fit with the way he got the deformity, if you know what I mean. Next one, at number 5, we have the 1987 animated Phantom. Honestly, I know it sounds crazy to put this one up this high, and quality definitely did get a lower, it did lower the score on this one quite a bit, because anybody who's seen it knows that entire film was just a little, they didn't put a lot of effort into their animation. I feel like they put the most effort into Eric, which I at least appreciate there. He is very LaRue accurate, which of course I always like. Again, promise that didn't factor in. But he really does have the face that serves the story. And I feel like they portrayed a lot of things going from a LaRue perspective that other people who took the LaRue route didn't really include. So they, you know, I laugh about the fact that his eyes were yellowed or whatever, but they actually do describe that in the book, and it's something that other people haven't done, which is why I consider that a creativity factor. And you know, while his skin color was a little weird, I just think it's something not a lot of people have really done, you know, experimenting with skin color a whole lot, unless you want to talk about, you know, the Hammer film. But I don't know, I really got good vibes from that one, even if the animation was fairly terrible when they actually like had him moving and stuff. But again, this is about the deformity, not the quality of the film itself. He also like had these really like cool like elongated fingers, and I don't know, I like the talon type, you know, like claw looking fingernails. I don't know, I just think it adds to the aesthetic. But this is a very believable Phantom, and that he would want to, you know, hide himself and wear a mask and everything. Coming in at number 4 is the deformity from the Ken Hill production of Phantom, one of the other stage musicals. There are actually multiple. This is the one that came out like right before Andrew Lloyd Webber decided to write his version. And I really like that they did a full face. Webber actually went against that for reasons I will get to in a second. But I do like it because I think that it serves the story very well. And like you can tell that it's definitely like prosthetics. Like it was done really well by the makeup department, but not well enough to where you'd really believe that this was a real person. Like you can just, I don't know, like from far away I guess you wouldn't be able to really tell, but this one definitely has its pros and cons for me, but I just feel like it really serves the story very, very well, and they did get very creative on like how they, you know, made those prosthetics and everything. At number 3 is actually the David Staller deformity from one of the other Phantom productions. It really, really pains me to put this one up this high because I hated the Staller musical with a burning passion. I thought it was terrible, as did many other people. But I actually really did like this deformity. I feel like the prosthetics were done very well, and the quality of the deformity was done very, very well. And, you know, even up close, you could, you know, very much believe that this was this actual person's face. Creativity-wise, I gave it a pretty high score because the prosthetics were done in a way that didn't really copy any one specific, you know, Phantom in the past. Like, it had similarities to others. Like, it was a half deformity like Andrew Lloyd Webber's. But, you know, then again, a lot of people have chosen to do that. However, they, you know, kind of made up for it by making it gruesome enough and realistic enough. And it struck a balance between being effective for a stage production, which is why Webber chose to only do a half mask, so that only half of the actor's face would be covered, and the other side could give, you know, more expression and stuff. And it's like it started to kind of morph into that, you know, corpsey looking type of deformity. It just, I liked it. It was one of the few redeeming qualities of that production. Sue me. Coming in at number 2 is the Andrew Lloyd Webber stage deformity. Now, I did have a hard time with this one at first because kind of depending on who has done the makeup over the years, the deformities kind of changed a bit quite a few times. And there have been like little small areas where I have not particularly liked the quality of the makeup, but I feel like that was more of the makeup department's fault in the application of it rather than the design, like a design flaw in itself. Because there are times when it looks like it's peeling up and blah, blah, blah. And some of the coloring is just really strange or whatever. But the reason why I put this at number 2 was because of the times, which is most of the time, that the deformity is really fantastic. From a creativity standpoint, it got a really high score because nobody had ever, really done a deformity like that. And Weber made the executive decision to be a little bit different, from the novel, although he did take a lot of inspiration from LaRue's novel. He decided to veer from it in a little bit in order to suit the needs of the stage so that, the actor could show more expression and everything, yet it was still gruesome enough on the one side to where it served the purpose, and you could definitely see him wanting to get away from society. There's some really cool versions of it where you can see almost like his brain, and although that's not anatomically correct, he would be dead if that was actually happening, it's still cool and still really creative. And another reason why it got such a high creativity score for me was because when the deformity was being designed, in the composition of it, they were actually taking inspiration from several actual disorders that would cause a face to, do that. So there was a lot of realism, very just realistic, this is something that could happen to a person because it's based off of several different very real diseases or disorders. And the fact that they did the research to apply that is very impressive to me and very cool to me. And I really, really love the Weber. I did try and score these to where it wouldn't be a biased result. But, and I still found myself putting this one at number 2 just because it does have so many great elements and it is so iconic. This is a deformity that when you think of Phantom of the Opera, immediately this is what your mind pretty much goes to. So, creative team, A+. And finally, coming in at number 1 is, of course, the wonderful Lon Chaney deformity from the 1925 silent film. This one got 5 stars across the board in every category because if you know the story behind the deformity, Chaney was very, very good at prosthetics and did all of them that you see himself. Literally everything you see on his face was done by him. I mean, the extent that he went through to create this deformity. He used piano wire, or I believe it was piano wire anyway, to push his nose upward to kind of give the LaRue no nose effect, which was highly creative and probably very painful. So the fact that he was willing to suffer that much for, a good scary effect was, awesome. They were just very high quality prosthetics, especially for 1925. The makeup job for Chaney. If you look at a picture of Lon Chaney, which I'll have up, versus what he looked like as the Phantom, they do not look like the same person at all. You would never freaking know. He did such a good job of disguising what he really looked like, and holy crap. He also, I have heard, actually puts some kind of drops into his eyes to dilate his pupils to also give a very creepy, kind of effect. I still kind of laugh about the kind of almost cul-de-sac comb-over kind of thing that he has going on, but it is entirely possible for the Phantom's age, and it does kind of add to, what people tend to find unattractive. I don't know. I don't care about the... Also, what he did with his teeth to make his teeth look so, you know, awful and everything, was just another fantastic touch. I mean, this was just, I mean, very, very story-serving. Very story-serving. You know, this is probably one of the most LaRue accurate, if not the most, that we've gotten. And, you know, if you go by the LaRue novel, it's definitely, you know, you can see why he would want to, you know, run off and never be seen again. And then the quality of this custom makeup job that he did himself was just insanely impressive, especially for the time period. Like, even now, that is a damn good makeup job that he did. And then the creativity of how he came up with all these different ideas to make these things happen, because prosthetics were very limited back then. We did not have the resources that we do now, and so he made this work. And the end result was just phenomenal and is by far my favorite deformity of all of them. So, just tell me in the comments, do you agree with my list? Where would you rearrange some things? You know, just give me your thoughts. This is just my, you know, personal assessment based on, you know, a kind of score system that I did to put things where they are. But, you know, everybody has different opinions, different priorities, different tastes, and so I would love to hear y'all's thoughts. Now, a few just little side notes. I know a lot of you really enjoy my series that I have going on right now, of me playing Dark Romance Performance to Die For. First of all, you can start getting access to those up to a week early, sometimes longer, just depending on what I'm having time for. If you are a Patreon subscriber, and you only have to be tier 1 in order to get access to those early. Seriously, every dollar helps. So if you're impatient and love that series, Patreon is where you're gonna get everything far earlier. And if you're just a fan of Let's Plays in general, check out the channel Sin Vengeance Gaming. It's actually my boyfriend's channel, and I am in many of his videos, most of them in fact. I also do like commentary along with him, and we have a really good time. A lot of it's really funny, but he has a couple of solo things as well. But so if you want to see me in other things, if you just like Let's Plays in general, go check out his channel. I will have it above. That's all for now. Stay fantastic with a PH, and keep your hand at the level of your eyes.